Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of the Day of the Dead 2008 remake, of course, directed by Steve Miner, who directed some prevalent slasher films like Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, both solid entries in that franchise, along with the first Lake Placid, and Halloween 20 years later as well, which again is very decent. Um, at least in my opinion. Definitely has its shortcomings, but I think people kind of forget that the hand that was behind this movie. But anyway, I am a big fan of the original Day of the Dead in the '80s. I think it is my personal favorite of George Romero's main zombie trilogy per se, which of course is the original Night of the Living Dead, which I do like a lot, and then of course the original '70s Dawn of the Dead. And between those two and the '80s Day of the Dead, Day of the Dead is my favorite. I love Bob and the bunker setting and everything like that. Just had my wife watch it not too long ago. Um, and then of course, there's the 1990 Night of the Living Dead, which I love and is very overlooked. But that wasn't a fully a Romero thing either. Um, but yeah, anyway, to preface this a little bit, of course, this movie is, a bit constrained. Um, it is direct to video, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for, a film dude like myself. I enjoy plenty of independence. I don't see, theatrical release whatsoever. Uh, but, the budget is a bit there. People say, oh, it's like a sci-fi original, etc. And, honestly, it could have been. And while I admit, the film does have its shortcomings both from that end as well as, at least aside from Mina Savari, the acting usually isn't all that great. There are definitely a couple other likable characters though, and you do have Ving Rhames, which is a decent thing to have, with him starring in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake just a couple years before this, or a few years, excuse me. But, the acting really isn't all that great, generally speaking, in this movie. Aside from Mina Savari, who I've been growing to be quite a fan of, she just has, I don't know what it is, this natural sort of likability factor to her. The kind of quality, at least for me, that you can't really, pinpoint. She just kind of has something when I watch her, at least for me. She, of course, is a young soldier, who's kind of stationed at, a outpost near home and everything like that, and serving in that sense, and kind of in a strange relationship from her her brother and her family, after having been even further away prior to the events of this movie. And of course something happens within the town and it kind of forces them to reconvene per se. You have Ving Rhames as sort of a higher up in the movie in terms of military command. Don't go in thinking Ving Rhames is in it all that much, though. He is not in it as much as, like we just talked about, the Dawn of the Dead remake. It feels sort of like more of a wink that he's in the movie. Although he does get a certain key scene in the film for sure. But besides the inherent cheapness that I already spoke about with the film, I couldn't help but find myself honestly enjoying it. Yes, I said that. I honestly enjoyed the 2008 Day of the Dead remake. Now, it is not trying to be a straight remake. It has, winks and sort of homages to the original film, but it's not about them getting stuck in a bunker for the whole movie, although there is a bunker at a certain point. It is not, fully about, a zombie being experimented on, although there are at least one or so zombies end up showing, a higher degree of intelligence. So again, another wink. And then there's something with them using a weapon at some point. Those essentially are the main nods to that, as well as some research being done to a point in terms of the virus itself. But it's never trying to fully mimic the events of the original Day of the Dead. It's still very much kind of telling its own story, it's really like it's a zombie apocalypse breaking out within a small town. And for some reason I really enjoyed that setting too. Although it's a very short film, I just liked kind of the feel of, okay, characters that kind of at least a few characters that grew up together, especially with, Mina Savari and her brother, who, by the way, is played by Michael Welch, who I will say was, I think, one of the other, like, more decent actors in the movie, who went on to be in Z Nation, which was a pretty fun show years after this. Sort of that quality and that, small town setting, I think I actually really enjoyed. It felt like, shit was really coming down to this one, fateful night and everything. And I thought the pacing of it was also very enjoyable and sort of added to that whole vibe. And, I talk about the cheapness to it. Some of the effects were honestly very, very, decent and workable, though. There's actually some alright practical effects work here and there. There's, CG usage, some of which is better than others, but I honestly was expecting worse when it would come up. And the zombies themselves were, vicious as fuck, really. I thought they pulled it off very well. They're fast in this one, not slow, and I think that really worked, again, to the film's pacing and the energy I do think it built up as it went. And you have Nick Cannon here, who is, starring in quite a few movies at a certain point in time. He's not, like, anything memorable here. You can think of, better actors that probably could have been swapped in for his role. But he's not, boring either. I thought he served the part fine. Ving Rhames is, alright while he's there. He's never been, like, an amazing actor or anything, but it's still decent to have him here. Again, like I said, I like Michael Welch. And, again, for some reason, I just felt endeared to Mina Savari's character. I enjoyed, following her throughout. I felt engaged, at least with her side of things. And her sort of having to, like, very quickly confront, some of, the issues with the parents and stuff like that. And, again, it does very much do its own thing, especially with the main zombie threat towards the end of the movie. It definitely distinguishes itself, I think, from the original Day of the Dead in terms of what their final opposition with it all is. And, I honestly think Day of the Dead 2008 is very underrated. I liked it a lot. Honestly, it would probably be in my top 10 zombie movies of all time, and I'm being completely serious. There is just something just very easy to watch about it. And I'd probably find myself watching it again even before movies that are, air quotes, objectively better. But hey, I always love finding, diamonds in other people's shit, I guess, per se. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and, honestly, I just enjoyed it. How dare I? But yeah, what you guys thought, is there anyone else that actually likes it that's out there? I think I found someone on Reddit that said it wasn't that bad either, but, yep, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Well, I guess if I had to rate it, I'd rate it. I don't even know, man. Anywhere from like a C+ to like a B+ in terms of grade, but entertainment scale, it's on the higher end of that for sure.